unfortunately, is part of the job.
Oh, down goes James Toseland, and he's holding that right wrist, and that's the last thing any fan of James Toseland wanted to see.
Well, I think in a normal motorcycle race, you probably break a lot of bones.
Now, oh, he was off before the corner. Big off. Look at this. You can hardly see the... Oh, Nacho goes down!
Every rider is fast and every rider is professional.
I think racing for me is everything.
Racing for me is my life. You know, since I was 14 years old, I've done road racing, and you know, I never had a real job. I delivered papers when I was a kid, but that was as close as I got to a real job. And yeah, still now I'm 30 years old now, and I still enjoy getting the leathers on and putting my leg over the bike and riding as much as I did when I was 14. And I'm very, very lucky to do a job I love and get paid for. You know, in life this is very, very fortunate. I've had a big injury this year, and I've had 3 months away from riding, and I realised just how much I love the racing, because I've missed it very much, so I'm looking forward to coming back.
The racing for me always my life, because for me it's essential. When there is more time from one race to another race, I don't see the time for race again, because we work more, we work every day for training, for perfect condition, body perfect condition in the race, and when is the moment of the race, I'm happy for this.
From 6 weeks of age, I was traveling the world with my dad, so you know, it's only ever been racing, and you know, for sure my aim is always to be world champion. And you know, last year was very close, but you know, I'm pretty confident that, you know, I'm happy with my riding right now. We just need to make some small progress and, you know, try and get BMW for a world championship.
Well, you know, I've been doing it for that long. It is my life, you know, really racing. You know, I started riding bikes at the age of 5. Competition in motocross just for some recreation with the family until I was about 16. And from that point on, I pretty much started a road racing career. So, yeah, but basically my whole life is around the racings.
Over the years, I've raced with some great people. I think the ultimate guy was Troy Bayliss. He was the toughest guy to beat, you know, 7. But Noriyuki Haga, he's always been tough rider. But this year with the Ducati and Checo is loving the Ducati and he's very strong this year. And you know, Max Biaggi with the Aprilia. The Aprilia is such a good bike now, and with a great rider like Max, it's a very good combination. Yeah, I think Troy Bayliss though was the toughest.
Maybe when I won the championship the first time on the Ducati, probably Carl Fogarty and Aaron Slight, riders like this, Colin Edwards. Nori Haga, he's also another rider who I've done many tough battles with, especially when we were teammates at Yamaha. We always bashed handlebars quite a lot. It's always been tough competition. Superbike or racing in general isn't an easy job.
Maybe the first 6 or 10 in the Pacific are always fast, but in this moment I see Aprilia guys and Yamaha guys are maybe more fastest.
World Superbikes right now is very competitive. There's, you know, 7 manufacturers that all can win, and you know, you have Marco Melandri back from GP, Carlos Checa is riding the best he's ever ridden, and obviously Max Biaggi with the Aprilia.
The BMW compared to the Honda, Ducati, Yamaha is more similar to the Honda because of the standard inline 4-cylinder. The Ducati obviously with the twin cylinder was a different feeling with the torque. The R1 with the cross-plane crankshaft was similar to the Ducati with the feel of the torque, but it liked the high revs was very good for the Yamaha. The engine was very strong, and but the Honda and the BMW are more similar. But the BMW is strong. It's one of the fastest bikes out there on the grid.
Yeah, I've ridden quite a few different bikes over the years, Ducati, Suzuki, Honda. Now with BMW for sure, the road bike is the best at the minute on the road. The power and the technology on the road, it's just fantastic. It's it's really close to the race bike. Right now with the race team for sure, we have lots of learning and progress to make. But I think the potential with the BMW is the most highest out of all the bikes that I've ridden. Right now, we are not succeeding the potential, but for me it's very early. As a rider, I always want to win, which is frustrating. But at the same time, when we get it right, we can be very competitive.
Well, all the bikes are fairly even right now. For sure, the top speed of the BMW seems to be one of the strongest points. It's always in the top 2 or 3. I think probably the Aprilia is about the same. For the rest, for the braking and acceleration, all the bikes are pretty similar now. It's a lot of that comes down to the tyres. Everybody we're using the same tyre. I'd say probably the top speed is the strong point.
I like more the brake system, and with my system of riding and with my setup, I like more the brake because I can push more. I am one of the most fast rider in braking.
With the BMW, they've got a lot of technology behind it, which sometimes makes it a little difficult. But when it's getting right and good, it's a good thing to have. The engine speed is also very competitive, and the chassis itself is very adjustable. So, on an overall package, there's no reason why we can't put it together, and hopefully we can do that soon.
The strongest point I think is actually just BMW. They are a big company, and they have a lot of money to support the Superbike project. And yeah, it's not going so well at the moment, but with the budget and with the amount of testing, the project will work at some point. I'm not sure when, but it will work at some point. So and also the Italian team now is doing a fantastic job, and they have some good ideas for next year to improve the bike.
The Superstock bike is very similar to the standard bike. You can see in the Superstock Championship is one of the fastest bike, because in the standard condition the engine is more different from the other company. It's a nice system of electronic. It's very completed, and you can push more with easy. It's a nice setting. We have a nice balance, and the bike now is ready for riding fast without push more.
The original bike, I think with the BMW, it's the closest thing out of all the bikes to the actual race bike. The horsepower is not so big a difference. It's very fast, the standard bike. For sure, you put different electronics is more, I would say, complicated with a race bike. Suspension is the latest of what Öhlins have, where the standard bike is more standardy type things, but the behavior is very similar. I think with the less power with the standard bike and the less complicated electronics, it's fantastic. As soon as they brought the bike out, they won pretty much every championship in Superstock. So this shows you how good the BMW bike is, and this is also really exciting from the racing side, because this is what we base our bike from.
The difference between the production bike and the race superbike now, the technology is so much that the bike is very, very different from the production bike. So because the gap is bigger now in Superbike compared to Superstock, the technology and the team and the team personnel make a big difference.
Same bike with the same name, but are very different system of riding the bike. With Superstock, use the standard tire. Superbike is a slick. There is a more difference of the grip, and the difference substantial difference is Superstock. When you have a nice balance, a nice setting, the bike is very similar in every circuit. The Superbike, you can push more and you are very fast when anything is in the correct condition, but just not correct tire in the correct moment, and the bike is very slow. It's difficult anything have the perfect condition. In the riding, you brake more with the bike up, and you can open only when the bike is up. In Superstock, in Superbike, you can brake just when you enter in the corner, not more for sure, but you can brake when you enter in the corner, and you can take the throttle for slowly open when the bike is down. With Superbike, when the tire is new and with the qualifying tire, and when you have more grip, you can take the throttle when you are in the corner, and there is another system of riding because change more.
The differences between the Superbike and the MotoGP is one, the weight, the 25-30 kilograms less in MotoGP, and also that the brakes are carbon, not steel. So because of the weight and the carbon brakes, at 320 kilometers an hour, the braking is nearly 20 meters later, which is quite incredible for one difference. But also the chassis is much stiffer with MotoGP, so the corner speed is much higher, and the tires are different, the electronics are different, and I think the technology is very similar to Superbike, but just at a higher level. So we have traction control, we have anti-wheelie, we have the pivot sensor on the bike. So everything is similar, but in MotoGP it's just more advanced. You know, MotoGP has always been classed as the pinnacle class. So for me as a rider, it was a great opportunity to arrive in the pinnacle class, to race against Valentino Rossi and Dani Pedrosa and all these great riders was great. But most of my life has been in this paddock. Since I was 17 or 16 years old, I have been in the Superbike paddock with World Supersport, so I feel more at home in this paddock because I spent so much time. But MotoGP was really good for myself to arrive at the top. The differences between the paddock is very different because you know, in Superbike everything is production, so everybody knows about the technology and everybody knows about the bike because you can buy. In MotoGP is prototype, so everything is secret. You know, all the manufacturers are trying to get the advantage all the time. So the mechanics cannot talk to other mechanics because, you know, it's not possible. And because of this situation, it feels like everything is cold in MotoGP. But it's just because of the level of technology and the secrecy behind the technology. It kind of keeps everybody separate.
Racing, for sure you will have injuries, and in any sport you always pick the injuries up, and you know, is how you prepare yourself in the gym and mentally to recover as fast as you can, and you know, to always when you are on the grid for the race, you can be only 110%. This year I've had a few crashes. Last year I only had 3, and I think already maybe 8 crashes already this year. For sure I picked up a few small injuries this year with the wrist, and also I broke 2 bones 2 times in the foot, but nothing that's really affected me too much in the races. It's not been the best of situations, but you know, has not really affected me too much on the bike.
Well, I think in a normal motorcycle race you probably break a lot of bones, but I've been pretty fortunate. I've had quite a few big accidents. The injury that I picked up last week in Aragon is the first broken bone I've actually ever done, as in a limb. For sure I've done a few ribs and collarbones and stuff, but these are quite easy to do. You know, it's not difficult to break. Yeah,
injuries unfortunately is part of the job. When you're a motorcycle racer, for sure you'll have some injuries. But touch wood, if you're lucky to have injuries that you can recover from, if you have an injury that you can't recover from, is a difficult situation. But yeah, I broke my legs quite badly, but everything is normal now, and the problem is the wrist at the moment. But this is getting better, and hopefully when I stop racing, I will be able to do everything I normally do. So this is what I hope.
Oh, down goes James Toseland, and he's holding that right wrist, and that's the last thing any fan of James Toseland wanted to see.
I've touched a little bit in the car racing world. I've done a couple of guest drives for Lamborghini a few years ago, and I got my first podium, I guess you could say. So, but no, for me, I do a lot of go-karting also, which I find is also good training mentally and physically, and for concentration. That can work on the bike. So yeah, for sure the car world for me is another area that maybe after the racing on the bikes is finished I'd like to go to.
It's very important for a rider to be quiet, ready for the race without nothing in the mind, because when you are in the track with a bike, with other guys, with other rider, and you are in 300 kilometers per hour, it's important to take the concentration and don't think nothing.